Lovely. You want to sound like Celine Dion through the whole podcast? Oh, my God.
In nature.
Okay. I think we're good, buddy.
It sounds good.
Okay. Echo's off.
Okay. Are we ready?
Check. Okay. Does
Check.
that sound okay?
Check. Okay. We're good. Yeah, everything sounds good.
All right. I'm ready on my end.
What are you like a DJ? Do you have the mix board and you're just up on an elevated stage 100 feet above the population there and just whipping up bullshit noises? It's like, oh my God. It's like being in that movie Legend with Tom Cruise. You're like Satan, you're the little demons running around. But anyway, did you see what just dropped today? I mean, we've got to talk about, I wanted to talk about the monkey, but we're going to talk about the John Durham report that came out. Everything's non-collaborated with the FBI. Huge mistake by the FBI and the Department of Justice. They all got scathing reports in the John Durham report because John Durham can't prosecute a frog. Speaking of frogs, he's been unable to put anybody in jail. It's really unbelievable. It's a little scary to think, right, that our country, there's no one being held responsible for this. And it really affected not only a presidency, but the election. I don't care whether you like Trump or not. I don't really give a shit. But when you look at Watergate, and there was people that went to jail for interfering with, Democratic strategies on the Republican side. And this was
no accountability anymore.
There's none in government. And that is scary. It's almost just unbelievable. If you're,
do you think we should go back to the public flogging? Like, how would you?
I'd like to do the Braveheart thing, disembowel them. I think that would be better. Yeah, disembowelment, right? Let's see what they scream as they pull out their intestines. That's where I think
I recently had Googled capital punishment techniques from ancient times right up until, and it's pretty wild.
You were researching that?
Yeah. I wanted to see, how low humanity could go.
Oh, there you go. What's the lowest? What's the worst thing that we?
Well, at disembowelment's right up there. I mean, they had everything from. They had terms I never heard of. They would they bury you alive, which we've all heard of that one. They've had ones where they pretty much shish kebab you.
Yeah, there was always the witches was always the most interesting. We're going to drown you, and if you drown, you're not a witch.
Yeah, they would either drown you or burn you.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you survived it,
what's that?
If you survived it, they would kill you. I mean, it's just right. It's just like what kind of crazy shit is that?
Yeah, it was a lose either way.
Yeah, you're in a no-win situation.
They had a good one where they sealed you. Basically, think of a coffin, but your head popped out and your arms popped out, right? So it's kind of like stocks, and then they would coat your face with like milk and honey, and they would basically force feed you, and then so insects would get on your face and you'd have to eat. But then you're going to the bathroom, excrement, inside this sealed box, and so basically you're decomposing in this box in your own excrement, and insects are eating that, and there was a name for that.
And you thought it was spa day. You were getting a facial and eucalyptus rubs.
Yeah. So that's what we've done to keep our government officials in check. That's accountability.
Well, I think we might have to revisit that and implement it somewhere in the Constitution. But I just can't even. Let's see what happens. James Comey, what a incompetent. I used to think he was fantastic. Like he was the ultimate G-man. He's a complete incompetent. I will say that I was listening to a Rogan podcast the other day, and Jim Brewer was on. He was the guy who did Goat Boy.
I remember him.
You remember him?
Goat Boy,
very funny guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was great. He did a good stoner guy.
Right. He does a Jack Nicholson imitation. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, he was great.
He's out of his mind, right? And he does the whole COVID thing. He talks about that and the vaccine. We'll do that at some point, but not today. But so Rogan is talking about this monkey who is kind of wandering around. They got video of it. Of course, I had to go on. This is what I'm saying. You can't unsee these things. So this monkey's kind of wandering around, and all of a sudden he sees a bullfrog, and he picks up the bullfrog. He sticks his finger in the bullfrog's mouth, jars it open, and then takes his monkey penis and sticks the bullfrog's mouth over his monkey penis and goes at it for, I'd say, 15 minutes. I was really impressed with the monkey's prowess. I don't know whether they're married or not. I don't know. Is that a violation? Is that...
Yeah, wow. This is... I'm happy I woke up today to learn new things.
I had to look it up. I was like, I got to see this. I typed it in, and there it was, as plain as day. It really made me to start thinking about the Goliath frog, which is, I think we talked about this. It's about 8 pounds, 13 inches long.
Yeah.
I think you could, for deprived men, you could put those frogs in like those tote bags that they carry little chihuahuas and Yorkies around in and sell them. And
instant gratification.
Yeah. Yeah. You just, while you're...
If you're starving, you have a week's worth of frog leg.
Well, you got that whole thing. How big will a frog get on a diet like that? Who knows? But it was really unbelievable. But there's some things like on Instagram. I don't know. Have you ever seen that where the Komodo dragons trap this water buffalo, huge water buffalo? Have you ever seen that one?
And it takes days, right? But
oh my God, I can't watch it. I can watch most
wait
things.
For it to get infected, right?
Yeah, they just keep slathering over this whole thing over a course of 24, 48 hours. It is just...
Yeah, for all the tree huggers that are always like, oh, the presence of the Lord reveals itself in nature. And I'm always like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of beauty in nature, but nature is also pretty savage.
It's the most savage. I said that I really believe that the world itself, there's 20% of the human race that are predators, and then there's 80% that are hoofed animals, like herds. And you're either a lion or a predator, or you're one of the hoofed animals. And it's just, you look at these. I just watched one today with a leopard and a impala. And that impala fought like I've never seen a hoof. Most of them just kind of, they get hit in the throat, they fall over, they become filet mignon for the tiger pride or the lion pride. But some of that stuff is just brutal. Nature is brutal. There is no question about that. But anyway, speaking of brutal, I don't know. The other thing, just trying to, before we get to our main subject today, did you see the thing with Robert Kennedy Jr.?
Enlighten me. I have been watching him, and I like he says interesting things.
Well, he's not as much as he's not as crazy as some of the environmentalists. In fact, he's pretty reasonable. I don't know. Sean Hannity, who I can't stand, had him on, and he was trying to bust his hump about him flying around in a private jet. And he said, "Listen, I'm not that environmentalist. I use a private jet, but I'm not sitting here." Yelling at people for using their private jet. There's a lot more out there to deal with than me in my private jet use or any of, I guess, his friends who use private jets. But the thing that was real, so he's got like 19% of the vote right now in the Democratic Party, likely voters, that whole poll. But the thing that really was telling, he got right into it. I watched an actual podcast, but he's been in the New York Post. He's been all over the place on it. He blames the CIA for the JFK assassination. He stopped short of his father, but his father definitely was also part of that whole thing. But, for a Kennedy...
no, I didn't see that.
You haven't seen that. So for a Kennedy to blame the CIA, which we all know that's who killed JFK and probably Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, they considered them threats. A recent report came out. I can't remember the whole report, but that John Lennon was killed by the CIA.
Oh, God, I never heard that one.
2 weeks ago it came out. Very, very credible investigative reporter. And they believe Hinckley was part of the whole MK Ultra thing, believed he shot John Lennon, but he never actually shot Lennon. Lennon was shot in the front. not in the back, trying to escape up the stairs. So someone had shot him in the front. He did a huge amount of investigation, totally a credible investigative report, but it got no traction, as always.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And I haven't heard that one.
No, it's really an interesting, take on the whole Kennedy thing. And I got to say, him coming out and saying that, considering everything that family's been through, it takes a set of balls.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of been on the down low though for the past.
Yeah,
years, right?
he's come out. He's got his reasons for running. I don't disagree with him. I mean, he's totally against the Ukrainian war. I'm against the Ukrainian war. I think you're against the Ukrainian war. Most people I know, it's not something that the public is sitting there saying, "Oh, we've got to save for the freedom of the United States of America. We got to save the Ukrainians." That's a whole other podcast anyway. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole, for God's sakes. We'll be here for 12 hours. And then
we're just lightly touching on the most important, relevant topics of the day.
Yeah, right now we'll dig into
giant frogs.
Yeah, giant frogs and the Kennedys, and they all kind of mingle together. A frog and a monkey walk into a bar, the whole thing. But you want to know the other thing, too, is the Daniel Penny. Have you heard that whole thing? He was the Marine that was on the subway.
Oh, yes. Okay.
He raised $2 million for his defense fund in like 48 hours. Do you think?
Wow.
Do you think people are behind the DA in New York on that? Probably not. But Give Sengo, or whatever the hell the platform is, they raised about $2 million or $2.5 million at this point as of today. And,
wow. Yeah. Well, yeah, because I had read they were going to try to charge him with manslaughter, right?
Yes, that's the charge. But where is society at the moment? We aren't allowed to take preventative measures to protect ourselves or other people. You're punished for that right now. Remember the bodega, the father, where the girl tried to steal the chips or wanted chips or something in New York again?
No, but I was thinking, I remember Bernard Getz.
Oh, what was that? Really? What's that whole thing?
That was like a subway shoot. It was like this.
He had a gun, though, right?
Wimpy, like an older New York City, probably a Jewish guy. I can say this, folks, because I'm Jewish.
Okay, thank God for saying that, or we'd be deplatformed.
It's a disclaimer,
right? Okay.
But he said he was being robbed. He felt like I think he said he felt threatened or something. He shot like several.
Oh, that's right. They were
American
kids. They were kids or something, right?
They were younger kids. Yeah, and I don't know if it was substantiated that they had actually robbed them or even touched them. I don't remember, but it was a big deal, and it was like one of the first times everybody started talking about it.
Yeah. Well, this Marine choked out. It was really bizarre stuff because they were acting like whoever this homeless. I can't remember the homeless guy's name, but they acted like he was a Michael Jackson impersonator and he had a Vegas show, and I mean, like he didn't have any of that. But
was he threatening? Was the guy who got choked out? Was he threatening people?
He was. Okay. He had just. I guess he had just gotten out of a mental ward. Went down to just walked out, went down to the subway, and was harassing people. And this Marine felt, I don't know if he necessarily felt threatened, but he took it upon himself to protect people that were there. And, that's another thing, the veterans, right? This guy saw action. He was in, in some of the Afghan stuff. And when you look at his background, these guys are trained to go toward danger. And when that happens, obviously there's no cops on the subway in New York anymore. It's probably one of the most dangerous places to go in the world. So he decided to take it into his own hands and, stop this guy. And he's being punished for it. There's video of it. There's 3 other guys, and some of those guys were not a white guy with blonde hair. They were African-American. Looked like a Latino guy. They were all working to try and stop this guy or prevent a catastrophe on the subway where somebody dies. And in the meantime, this guy died. I mean, I guess there's something to be said about when you decide to take violence or to be very aggressive with people. You cross certain lines, you know. What are you supposed to do about that?
It's tough because New York City is also famous for the old bystander apathy. You know, somebody gets hit by a car, nobody wants to intervene because they're afraid they're going to get sued.
Right.
And now you have somebody who steps in trying to be a good citizen to protect the other people on the train and blah, blah, blah. And then, I mean, I haven't followed the full story, but I doubt he tried to kill the guy.
No, I don't think he was trying to kill him. It goes back to the George Floyd thing again. Right. You know, did George Floyd die from the knee being on his neck, or did he die from a fentanyl overdose? That's always been the controversy associated with that. But all of these guys, black, white, green, orange, I don't care what they are, if you're imposing threatening actions upon people, you got to expect that. And most times you don't have to expect anything. Everybody's getting away with it. But in this particular instance, a couple of people stepped up. He got a hold of the guy, put him in a chokehold. He was on the ground, holding him down. The guy never stopped. I mean, he was flailing his arms and legs all over the place. And eventually... You
know what? This is the perfect segue into what you wanted to really discuss today and drill down, because once RoboCop kicks in, you're not going to have, right?
Right.
There will be no white, black, and this or that. It's just going to be, AI
what?
RoboCop will
100%.
patrol. Yep. We'll police the humans.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get rid of racism and bad upbringing and whatever else might turn somebody into a killing machine.
What you're saying is it'll be an objective act.
Right. Programmed by, of course, other objective human beings, right, that have no...
Right. Which really brings us up to the thing we want to talk about today. Because,
exactly.
Yeah,
that's a brilliant segue.
Wow. You should be in radio for that goddamn segue. No question about it. Yeah, that's right. We want to talk about artificial intelligence. First of all, a whole bunch of things happened that led us up to it. I fell into the AI. I was mesmerized by it, right? Like everybody else. Have you been using it?
Oh, yeah. I played with, I've been using some AI art apps.
Have you?
Now.
Have you?
Playing with them, yeah. I've been playing with Wonder. I would like to, it's the one everybody talks about. It's like the Chat GPT.
Yes.
Or of the art world. I think it's, right, I can't remember. It'll come to me later.
You got Google AI, you got ChatGPT. ChatGPT is really the one that, most people are using at this point.
Yeah, one of my questions is all the fodder, all the data that these algorithms cull,
mm-hmm.
How are they going to be able to sort from the good data online and the shitty data, like Wikipedia data?
Right.
Like, in other words, like this information that the truths that it spits back out to you is going to be this like conglomeration of pond water.
Are you saying that Wikipedia isn't a viable source of information?
It's a source, right? And we can argue how truthy it is, right?
Oh, it's total bullshit. I mean, they, just to get clearance to put something up there, you got to have a relative or something working at Wikipedia. I mean, it's totally. Yeah,
they definitely changed it in the past. It used to be able, like, I think it used to have to be accredited, and then they changed it so that it was like an open platform, and like a 7-year-old kid could get on there and just, mess with somebody's profile or whatever.
Right. You could put anything in there. But, they were working toward a good filtering system, and they had collaboration, and then they have these info Nazis that work there, and you can't put anything up on that today. You got to go become an editor. I mean, it's Wikipedia. Come on, give me a break. You know what I mean? It's his real Santa Claus, I guess, at this point. But the thing the question that you're asking is a good one. Michio Kaku, the theoretical physicist and futurist and scientist, he had come out. So this is when I knew I was in good company, right? He had come out and said AI was nothing more than advanced chat that cuts and pastes information based upon your query of the search or what you request.
Right.
You know what? I agree with him. I don't believe there is. I believe that we're in this hyperbole, this situation where we're being conned into. It's like everything where the government's involved. I think there's a whole thing going on. I think that if you remember back during the Google days when they first started, Yahoo, and it was all, I used to be in more meetings and hear about eyeballs, right? And I think what they're doing is just trying to get a prelude into what will eventually be artificial intelligence. So I think what they're trying to do is get masses on that. You're going to need people on these platforms of AI to just bring a certain amount of intellect into an AI environment, but there's a whole host of problems with it. One of the problems is there's a lot, but just to start, just to get things just to get the party started.
This could be several episodes.
Yeah, we could talk about this one for a month or two. But the one thing that is a problem is just the technology itself, the hardware, right? You cannot run. So let's think about that for a minute. There are forms of quantum computers. That's what you need in order to run AI. And there are quantum computers, mycelium, right? You're familiar with the whole mycelium, what runs underneath what we step on every day, right? The mushrooms.
The original internet.
That's the original internet, right? And where's the largest mycelium network? Isn't it in like Oregon or something?
Oh yeah,
Paul Stamets. Didn't Paul Stamets discover it? It's in the Guinness. It's like, I don't remember how big it is.
And this will blow your fucking mind, but did you know that the mycelial networks, they don't really respect state boundaries?
They don't respect what?
State boundaries, They don't.
Oh my God, yeah, they're like illegal aliens. Yeah, they're just crossing over.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit.
Right, they were here before we drew the maps up.
Right. And you want to know something really spooky about that whole network? I didn't know this, is that the mycelium network will protect baby trees. It'll protect the seeds of trees. Did you know that?
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it will somehow, I don't know how, it will take a seed, hide it from predators or, birds or whoever would eat that type of seed, and it hides it until it starts to grow. They will protect tree seeds, which I thought was fascinating. It was in a recent biography on the whole fungi world. It was
that makes sense. It's every living thing wants to live. Part of what they live off of is trees, so it makes sense in a genetic sense, right?
Yeah.
Unlike humans, where we're like, oh shit, we can't kill all the animals and pollute all the land we live on, and
right, we can't declare war on it. There's no money in it. We want nothing to do with it. Yeah. But the whole, so that is really considered, a quantum computer of sorts or a network. They say leaves are quantum computers because of the chlorophyll and how they work. That I found interesting. And that was what Kakao was saying, the physicist. He was saying he went through a bunch of things, and it was. I agree with him because.
So are you guys saying that our current computing, since we're running off whatever quad core chips or with AMD chips or something in it, you're saying that our computational speed, as far as current laptops and whatnot, are not up to par?
Well, you know what? The reality of it is our laptops could probably facilitate the end answer. So whatever conversation you were having with AI, the thing that we don't have, you can't compute from the cloud. You can't run it over transistors in chips. What has to happen, you think about the brain, right? We can't even get, you know how much money we're going to spend on AI before we're done? And the government and how they're going to be involved. I just think this is a gigantic fraud, another fraud like so many others.
It's military application first, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there may be components of AI, which I'm sure there are, I mean, that's what got me in trouble was the federal government thought that we had created a component of AI and it freaked them out. And we didn't. It was just a very intelligent queuing of a database that would look at the surrounding and deliver packets in the least path of resistance. And they viewed that as a component of AI. And I was like, I don't think it is. And I got in trouble for saying
why don't we rewind? I mean, you're touching on a good topic. Why don't we rewind and try to define, like in your mind, when you say AI, we know that means artificial intelligence.
Right.
But what's the basic premise to you? Like, we don't need to get into sentient and.
Well, you kind of do, but here's my thoughts on it. What has to happen with artificial intelligence? First, the processing capacity has to be there. And if you really, really understand it, the only way that happens is at a high-level machine that is quantum computing. So it's very interesting. They say you can put a tremendous power of servers or computers in the size of a quarter, but guess what? It takes a cooling system the size of a Volkswagen bus to keep that quarter running. And then it runs on atoms. It doesn't run on transistors and chips. And it also has to be kept at 0 degrees, right? So you got to keep it at 0 degrees, and there can be no vibration. Any disruptance in those components will create a flawed algorithm or a flawed return to whatever the request is from the user. So think about that. And they literally hang like a chandelier, and it's very alien looking. They have them. IBM has got a very primitive one, and Google's working on one, but they have pictures of quantum, early stage primitive quantum computers.
Sure.
They look like chandeliers, for lack of a better word. They're beautiful. They're gold. They look gorgeous. It's like something you'd see in Prometheus or something, as they walk through the alien landscape.
Right.
So that's the first thing. You got to have that capacity and power. The end user just gets the request. So if you ask it, what should I have for dinner today? It really shouldn't say, oh, I don't really want to give you any jaded information. It would tell you, hey, I know you like pork and beans and eggs. Have that for dinner today. It always is couching itself. So there's that component of it. And then there's just software. So the software would have to be a language. C++ is a lot of what they build a lot of these things on, or they did. I'm not sure what they're using. That's what we built networks on. I don't know what they're using today. Right. But you would have to have a really advanced component of software that works in unison with that quantum computer. And then there'd have to be something on the end user's laptop or their phone, or, it may be a device that's just an AI device. But you could get this AI device to follow you all over the place. And, I want to go buy a red sweater. Oh, you can go buy one here and there. So to get to your point about how do we know what's good information and what's bad information, the intelligence inside an AI would know that. They would know what was real and false. They'd be able to query what's out there, the information, and there wouldn't be any of this bullshit about, oh, no, you can't. I don't know. I'm not sure I can't really give you that answer. It would answer anything, and it would probably be pretty goddamn accurate. But to get to your point, the whole sentience, which means the consciousness, that's the first component of AI, or, where there's a perception of thought. Let's put it that way.
Right.
You got to have that. That has to be available at the machine level. And then sapiens.
The Turing test, right? Isn't that the big barometer?
What is that now? Say that again.
I believe it's called the Turing test, which is it's a test that you can give to a human or a computer, and that's supposed to measure.
The level of their sentience. Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah, not everybody agrees that that's a universal barometer.
Right. But that's the faculty of sense and the feeling of consciousness. And that's where, but the thing before that is sapience, which is being sapient means having wisdom, sageness, profound knowledge. That kind of has to come. It's the chicken egg with those two things, because the combination of those create consciousness. And that's where we would have AI. When you have all of that wrapped up into software, and that software is making decisions and telling, algorithms going like our brain. It would work like our brain, and it would take all of those things to come to conclusions. And it would also create empathy. It would create a certain amount of empathy, which I have none. It would create a certain amount of empathy that would proliferate through this relationship with the AI and the end user. See, that's the thing. I think.
Sounds like you're ready to sign up for this Neuralink.
Yeah, sure. Can you imagine? Oh my God, I'd probably be.
It'll fix everything. It'll fix your restlessness, anxiety, paranoia.
Yeah, well, it probably would. Right. And I'm not looking. Well, first of all,
your empathy issue, it'll fix.
Right. God knows I need that. But the thing that I think is
you won't be choking out random strangers on the subway.
No, you have a nice discussion. The AI would talk you through it. His AI would talk to your AI, and they'd work out a deal, and that would be that. But I think that's the whole thing. Everybody has this fear of this AI, taking over the world, the Terminator, Matrix combination. But I just don't know that exists. I see it the other side. Can you imagine the elderly people? You see, what an AI would do, this is the thing that so what we're basically saying is there's no artificial intelligence. These are advanced software programs working across machine language and machines, computers, phones, whatever you want to.
So you don't think you're like the first guy, that high profile guy they fired from Google, he said that the software was becoming sentient or something?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, that's what he said.
He kind of got everybody talking about it maybe 6 months ago or something. And
I think he was full of shit.
Right. You're saying you're not buying that story. We're not. Where we're at now is it's not ready to take over the world.
No.
It's just a high-speed Google search now.
It's a better drilled down search. I mean, if I want something specific, I will type it into that. And they got really good with the marketing because it will talk to you, but it's only Siri. Yeah. It's just, you just have your Siri app turned on. You can do that with Instagram where,
I'll be honest with you. My fear is that I'm more of like a sci-fi guy. Like some of these guys are thinking like in the future.
Yeah.
I am one. I'm not a nihilist. I'm an optimistic nihilist. I hope that mankind can get their shit together before we nuke each other or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah. And, but I'm not exactly positive because given our track record, we're not really doing awesome. And
no, we're not.
If we're building algorithms to just be rational and vouch for the longevity of mankind, like build a software that says, okay, what's going to increase the odds that that humans can continue to procreate and live peacefully on this planet. I think if we leave it up to software that's just going to turn out statistical numbers, that probably AI, and we could give it the label AI, or you could just call it software. And given that probability, the AI, I would probably trust more than a human to decide what those parameters are for our longevity.
Yeah, I guess that's a great point.
I would vote if it was for president, and we have a human versus an AI. I would almost vote for the AI.
Well, you know what? Considering what's going on today, senility and cognitive dysfunction.
I mean, Biden could already he could be an AI for all I know.
Oh my God, I don't know about that. Let's hope
broken algorithm.
Yeah,
I don't know.
A broken piece of software that just keeps spiraling out of that spiral that you see that you used to see.
Yeah, it could be Weekend at Bernie's. He might not even be.
He may not even be a human being.
I don't know what's there.
Yeah. I'll tell you.
No disrespect. I'm just saying.
Well, there was a incident probably 10 years ago, which is really fascinating, in Russia, I think it was Russia or Japan. I can't remember. It doesn't really matter. But what happened was, and I tried to look for it. It's gone. You can't find it. But a robot, I think we talked about it. A robot came out onto the street, busy traffic cops out there, and this robot interrupts the whole flow of traffic, and it comes over. It's trying to communicate with the cop. And the cop's kind of like looking at it like, where the fuck did this come from? And he's looking for a flying saucer. And all of a sudden he realizes this building that he's looking at was probably where it came from. So he calls them, and a bunch of scientists come out, 3 or 4 scientists come out, and they take out the energy source, whatever was running to battery, and they wheel the computer back into the building. And 2 weeks go by, and all of a sudden, guess what? The robot's back out there. And what the robot had done was he had powered up his transistors and his chips, and he had 2 hours worth of life in those transistors and chips. And he came back out and was talking to the cop. It must have been a great conversation because he fired it up. His 2 hours he had left to live, and he was just trying to communicate with the cop again. But that I don't believe, and I think we agree on this. I don't believe that the government. I believe there's probably very primitive AI out there, but I don't think the government would release that into the populace because they're so afraid of it. It's one thing the government truly. I mean, if there's anything that runs on fear, it's the government and us, right? I mean, they are trying to scare the shit out of us at every movement from, COVID, which was just a really bad cold, to you name it, right? They are constantly putting us in a state of fear. The Ukrainian war, we need to, because Russia's economy is as big as Italy's. They're like a nothing burger in the overall global. So we're just always in a state of fear. And so that's another thing that bothers me. And I know everybody's saying, well, Elon Musk said, well, Elon Musk has some self-interest involved in this whole thing. He wants to create the good AI. I don't think there's good or bad AI. I just think there's AI, and some is going to be more intelligent. And it's going to be a function of how it's running, the software and hardware, and how well it was built, and the algorithms that run it are going to determine its full capacity.
Well,
strength.
Here's the big part, too, is the regulation, right? You can't argue that it's going to have to be regulated because, once some of the bad guys do get a hold of the technology, there's going to be good people and bad people working on this, right? So then as far as regulation, that was my concern. Like, we look now, we have Google and YouTube, and we've had podcasts where we talk about censorship and, how much is too much and how much government oversight of broadcasting or free speech or whatever you want to call it. So then how much who's going to determine the zeitgeist of the regulation of the programming of AI? That's a big one, right?
Yep. Do we want the government that's given us opiate addiction? And that's my concern. The government doesn't do a very good job of regulating the banking. Look, we're in a banking crisis. No one knows that.
Right.
We're in the middle of as far as the currencies being eroded on a daily basis. You've got the BRICS.
Well, that was one of the things that Elon Musk said that I did like was he said, the government, he was talking about the U.S. government is great at regulation once the crisis is already in place. So like once it's too late, then we're like, holy shit, we need to put a stop signs here or a traffic light because 10 people have died,
Right.
And that's the way they're looking at AI. Like, let's wait until it becomes a problem and then put some enforcement in there, regulation.
Right.
Which it could be a problem if you do get some bad people programming AI and that becomes tied into whatever, central banking, it could be anything, education, military. I mean, you name it.
DEFCON 5.
Yeah. And we're already like our tertiary self. In other words, our digital footprint, your email, your Facebook, your Instagram, our podcast, anything that if your physical meat sack of a body left tomorrow, you would still have this big tertiary footprint, your digital footprint of yourself. available online. And once that's only because that's already a huge part of who you are and we are. Our banking, our business, our communication, a big part of us. So that could be scary if the wrong algorithms get involved in that. Have access to that.
Right. You've got the evil aspects of technology that exist today. So I think, but I look at it the other way too. I think of the benefits of, Michio Kaku, he was talking about you can do chemistry without chemicals with AI. It's so advanced. Yeah, because and it can sort out the truth from, the bullshit. But what we have today is we have someone programming it. It's very subjective. It's not objective. And when you ask go ahead and ask any AI questions. If you go beyond where we're supposed to be, they're very woke applications.
You're saying it's better than the Magic 8 Ball we had as kids?
Maybe not. I've had a lot of luck with that Magic 8 Ball. But I just think that I'll tell you, one of the things that we wanted to do when I was doing technology, and I had thought of this, was why, when you're born, you know how you get a social security number?
Yeah.
You get a piece of software. That software begins with you at the time of your birth, and it starts to record your life. Cameras, everything. It accumulates. You have a place where this accumulates. You can only do this with a quantum computer. But throughout your life, I'm having a problem with algebra. I don't even know if we'll be doing algebra anymore. But whatever it is, spelling, algebra, language, it would teach you, right? It would work with you, and it would teach you, and it would create your level of intelligence would be brought up. That's the way I look at AI. And then in your death, there would be a historical memorial to you where people could look back on you and see who you are as a person, your accomplishments, your photos, your children, and that AI would go on. That's the whole thing, right? That AI would go on to live forever. That would be forever there. And the other thing I say for the elderly, so you've gotten in conversations with people who are older. They can talk. Yeah. I mean, just our customer service. Do you know the amount of time we spend talking to elderly people who don't have anyone to talk to? It's outrageous. Sure. Yeah, we spend huge amounts of time talking. And we do. We spend the time and we talk to them. But if they could have a companion that gets up in the morning with them and is discussing whatever you want to talk about. It knows your life. It knows what you're up to. It knows your grandchildren. It knows your relatives. You could say,
and then it tells you to put the toilet seat down or not to leave your socks there.
Well, you know what? Or put the cap on the toothpaste or all that. Yeah, it would remind you of all the shit. If you have a wife and you're living with her, it would know enough to tell you. She'd have her AI, you'd have your AI, and you would. That might complicate the relationship. Probably. But the component of AI is everybody would have their own personalized AI. I don't think it's something that is broad and, Hal would belong to you from Space Odyssey 2001, right? That would be. But but the reality of what we're looking at today, it's not even close. It's not even close.
No, Siri can't even half the shit I asked Siri.
Yes.
She's got no fucking clue, and it hasn't gotten any better in the past.
You know what? It has
not. How long
has
Siri been around? Like 8 years now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She can't.
Siri doesn't know me any better today than Siri knew me 8 years ago.
That's so true. It's such a one-sided relationship. It just sucks.
It is. Yeah.
But I really believe that we're just in a place with this whole thing where it's just a real hyper sales hype. I was watching a Google executive about a few weeks ago, and he said, the black box, we don't even know what's going on with this technology. I think he's so full of shit. Because I went through this with peered technology and peered computing and 20 years ago where they would talk about the black box. And I'd always be like, everybody's so full of shit, right? We don't have a black box yet related to artificial intelligence. We don't even have artificial intelligence. But you know what's interesting about that? People are paying $20 a month for it. They're getting a better search engine. And there are times where I can't get the right answer out of AI. But the thing that really got me with this was when I tried to use it for 3 days in a row and it was offline. Artificial intelligence it works on peer networks, and it's not dependent upon a single access. It would never close down. It would never be closed for business. And it was for 3 days. So no AI is going to be, okay, I'm just going to lay here in my mothballs and wait for somebody to fix. But what did they need to fix? So there's no real objectiveness to it. There's a lot of people telling it what to say, and you can tell when you ask it questions that there's no intelligence. It's just cutting and pasting a whole bunch of shit together. And it's just a high-level advanced technology that's taking, information from everywhere, cutting and pasting it, and then delivering it to your computer or your cell phone or whatever you're using.
I know I keep going back to some of the darker elements of it, but I heard a great piece on, I think there was one note on NPR about a military application of a real fighter pilot versus AI fighter pilot, and then obviously the AI pilot was able to shoot down more. Yeah, it was like kick the human's ass. And I think the other interesting
that comes down to drones. I mean, that what do we need?
Yeah, it's drone simulation. That's right. That's the future of warfare, right? We're going to send our robots after their robots,
right?
And drones. It'll all be one. Yeah. So then it's just going to be a technology war, I guess, at that point.
Well, the theory. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the other one was like, and this one had darker implications, but it was basically like AI can read brain scans. I didn't send you that article, but it was basically like the CIA did experiments with mind reading and, getting people to tell the truth.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Both the KGB and the CIA did a lot of experiments with that.
Oh, I find that also hard to believe.
On that. But basically now they can hook your brain up to the brain scans, but then run that through basically AI analytics, which can interpret your brain patterns and brain waves as the thought. So basically, they know what you're thinking, or they can interpret what you're thinking, and they've ran the test. Reading somebody a story, having them think about it, and then the AI is able to basically read the story, but through your brainwaves.
You want to know something? No, that could be that could just be a historical trace or looking at a pattern. You could do that with software.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of all the dark implications now, where we they capture you and then they do a brain scan and they go, oh, AI says you're thinking about, overthrowing the president.
Oh, that's that damn Tom Cruise movie. What was that movie?
Yeah.
What was that movie where they're arresting people before they commit crimes?
That's what I'm saying. Or it's like a Dark Mirror episode, like you were talking about. It's just tied into there was a Dark Mirror. I don't know if you ever saw that, like on Netflix, I think it was, or something.
Right.
But there's a chip in your head.
Right. The brain stem. It goes into the brain.
They can play back your memory, but they can also implant fake memories, like in Total Recall.
Oh God, Bob, we're having this the Robin Williams movie? Did you ever see that movie where he's like the custodian of your life? No. Oh God, it's such a great movie. He did a couple of movies. He did was it the Sentry Man or the Sentinel Man, where he was a robot and then he evolved into a human being as time went on over the centuries, and he fell in love with.
Oh wow, no, I don't.
Oh my God, it's such a. But there's plenty of movies out there that are.
Oh yeah, right. They're on that AI theme. We just didn't know to call it AI then.
We had no idea. We were clueless about the whole thing. But I really believe what we're looking at today is just a big pile of smoldering bullshit, because, and I think everybody's just. Which
is what I feel like I look at most days.
Right. I mean, the whole world's a big smoldering pile of bullshit. But it's, I just think that the AI, we're not looking at AI. It's that simple. We don't even have the pot.
So you're saying we're not there yet, but we are going to be there at some point, right?
Yeah, but I think it's 10 years away. They're not even close. I think you and I talked earlier. We should do our conversations when we're in the car. Those should be all podcasts because we get into some crazy heavy duty shit while we're driving along. But I think that no, I don't think we're close. I think we're 10 years away from a real AI application. And I'm not looking at it so negatively. I don't know that it's going to really, I think it's going to look at the world and go, oh my God.
I'm trying not to, but it's a neurotic Jew. And again, I'll say I am a neurotic Jew, so I can say that.
Well, the government is afraid to death of it. But I think it's just afraid to death of it because I think it'll sort out the bullshit. It will sort out the bullshit. I mean, this whole thing today with the Durham report, all that bullshit that was going on during the Trump presidency was all bullshit. There was no Russian nothing. It was just nothing. And do you think Putin is asking ChatGPT for advice on attacking Ukraine? I think, what I think? I think that they probably have their own AI that they can talk to. I do believe there is an existence of a kernel of AI out there that that exists, that can evolve into the scale of a real AI environment. But I think it's probably working on machine, in other words, chips and transistors. I don't even think we're close. I think we're 10 years away. It's really going to come down to the computing force in power. So, and I'll tell you something right here in Malta. I was talking to a friend of mine. They're building a pretty significant facility up near Saratoga Springs.
Yeah.
And you know why they're doing that?
No.
Because the property sits on a gigantic aquifer. And for cooling purposes, I really believe that's where they're going. That's where they're going to evolve the component of AI. We have the nanotechnology in Albany, right? We got that college at Nano, whatever the hell that was, where the leader and founder of that went to jail because he was making too much money.
Yeah, the Nexus cult.
Oh God, no! This is the Nano. We have it right over on Washington Ave Extension. There's a whole nanoscience building over there.
Oh, yeah, over by SUNY Albany.
Yes, which is kind of gone to you're talking about the sex. You see, that's a problem with you. It's really hard to have a conversation with you because you want to go right to the sex stuff. And we haven't even got the sex robots yet. You didn't want to talk about frogs and monkeys, but you're all about, let's talk about the virtual sex stuff. But anyway.
I'm back on Nexus.
Yeah, you're back on that whole thing with Keith Raniere or whatever the fuck his name was. And the what was it? The Seagram Fortune girls. They were all involved in that whole thing.
It turned out there was people from
Bronfman, yeah.
Yeah, like I knew some people that had information on that. I think did Tara?
Tara Rule. How about Tara Rule?
Yeah, I believe she knew people in that.
Yeah,
if not, or had firsthand information about that group or something.
Well, we'll have
to pull her in, and
you know what? We gotta get her. Maybe we can get her next week. The whole thing with the Illuminati, like she has all the contracts, and do you know that story with John Legend? She's not afraid to talk about it now. She said, "Yeah, I'll talk." She's in every imaginable newspaper in the world right now, taking on medicine and right. She's got a whole bunch of stuff. We should definitely get her on. But she was going to talk about that.
Johnny Legend.
Yeah, there you go. I'm glad you got Lucifer there doing this interview with us. But it's, she's somebody we should get on. But that whole thing is, where were we? We got off track. We were.
With nanotechnology.
Yeah, so up in Malta.
We have all the components to construct it, right?
Yes.
We have RPI.
We do.
There's a lot of research. Yeah.
Yeah, and we got a huge amount of the grant money, or what that the bill Biden passed for chip technology, is being invested in upstate New York. But you want to know I don't know about the stability. The reason for Malta is the aquifer. So they got the ability to cool. You need huge amounts of cooling for these things. But the bigger thing is the stability. It can't be anywhere near an earthquake. I think we're on a big fault here, aren't we? Do you know that?
I do believe, because we have had some earthquakes.
We've had one or two, and we've had them in Saratoga. So I don't know that it lends itself to an actual quantum computer. You got to go to the Midwest where they got all those nuclear silos.
But we got out here with tornadoes every week.
Out where you guys are.
Yeah.
They go underground with this stuff, though.
Yeah. We could go to Montana, to Malmstrom Air Force Base, and stick them down where we had the nukes in the silos.
Well, you know that First Data Corporation, I had done some work for First Data Corporation, and we were going out to North Dakota. It was in North Dakota. And we were inside some of the processing facilities that were all government that First Data had purchased and American Express had purchased. It was like a James Bond movie. It was like unbelievable. It was all underground. You drove in underground, and it was really.
Was there high security clearance?
Oh my God! Yeah, same thing with all the GNOCs, all the major connections for information. I also was in a couple of GNOC centers that AT&T owned, and that was like a James Bond movie. The guy had brought us in. It was when the internet first started. They were trying to show us and explain to us how, AT&T was the best in the world. The guy's giving a presentation, and as he's finishing up his presentation, the room we're in, which is like a pod, starts to turn around, and all of a sudden, it had these windows that would, they were dark. They had like a polarized window, and they'd flick a switch, and then they'd come on. So it was quite dramatic. You're watching to a chubby tech guy tell us about what the GNOC Center does, and then all of a sudden we start to spin around the whole room with like 20 people sitting there, and then you turn around, and the lights go on, or the window becomes transparent, and you're looking at this it looks like NASA. It was bigger than NASA. Whole bunch of tech nerds, probably 30 feet down. You could see the whole ground, and then maps of the world. And he was saying we can drill right down to a single telephone number. This is hardwired telephone numbers, landlines. Yeah. And also internet. We can drive down into IP addresses. So who knows what capacity they have today. But it was like, no bullshit. I was like, whoa. I had a security clearance to go see that. Frightening, right? Nothing. Yeah. You're not safe anywhere today.
No, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you're telling us we don't have to empty the bank accounts and sell all our worldly possessions yet. You don't think that AI is the Antichrist?
No. I think, who knows? I'm going to take a positive view of AI. If it truly,
I like that. I need less things to be stressed out about, not more.
Right. I mean, if it truly looks at the world philosophically and through a theological, more through a philosophical, benevolent character, it's not going to try and kill everybody. I would assume it would negotiate. It would say, you guys got to stop the Ukrainian war. Or like in the 1950s when the aliens came here to stop us from launching off nuclear weapons like popcorn machines, supposedly, right? I think that is what would happen. I think the AI would say, you guys are fucking up. The problem is, like we see today, with the AI that would be level-headed, rise to the top to explain to the world we're doing something wrong. You'd have a lot of people trying to stop that from happening if it didn't meet their philosophical belief or what they were trying to accomplish or acquire power and money.
Right. And like I said before, there's going to be people that are building the anti-philosophical, the bully AI.
Yes. And that's a reality. Yeah. They'd have to taint that AI to make it sinister, which would probably could do with an algorithm. So it's all quite scary, but I don't think the government should be in fucking with it yet. I think we need to let it go and see what happens. It's not going to be so easy for it to take over the world. I don't think I'm being naive at all. I think I'm being realistic about the whole thing. They say that you had mentioned something earlier, and I was going to say, but you were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt you. But the aliens that have come here, the little gray people, they're saying that they're not the real aliens. They're just robots. They're a form of AI that the real aliens put in spaceships because they're like, we don't need to go down there. We can send these guys. Just like we go to Mars with the rover and all that. They're just a form of that. They're not the actual aliens.
Yeah, that makes sense. Or if it's a projection or whatever.
Yeah. Why would you send yourself through all that peril and hazard when you can just send these drones with these little gray robots or cyborgs or whatever the fuck they are?
Yeah, it may be that once we get that tertiary self I was talking about, once we can download all of your thoughts, you need to be linked up to Neuralink or whatever. But once we can get rid of this meat sack, you'd be able to represent yourself in the shape of the frog or the sex bot or whatever the meat sack is.
So that's so goddamn romantic when you refer to this. The tunic of flesh. That was another one, the tunic of flesh. I'm like, oh, that's terrific. Yeah, I just think we're thinking about AI incorrectly. And everybody, I just had somebody say this to me over the weekend. Well, what do you know about technology? Elon Musk. Well, Elon Musk has got his own interests. He wants you to think he's creating the good AI. But he may not be creating the good AI. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know if there's good or bad. It's just something we're going to have.
No, I like what you're saying because there is a whole lot of fear porn out there.
Oh, God. Well, absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? Yeah. What do we use fear for? To control people. So people shouldn't be afraid of it.
Amen.
They shouldn't be afraid of it because we have no reason.
What did you say again? Fear is used what?
Fear is used to control. What was that? Were those applause?
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought it was like, amen.
Oh, God, yeah. No, I really do. I think that there's more. I mean, people will sit here today and say, oh, technology is bad, but it's really not. It's done a lot for the progression of the world. It's done more good than bad, in my opinion. No,
you're right. And that's how they're going to sell this. They're going to sell it as, get Neuralink because it will cure, autism. It'll cure all these cancer.
Yes.
You'll be able to.
Yep.
Neurological disorders, mental
paralysis, all those things, erectile dysfunction. It'll
cure not being politically correct. It can fix that.
Oh God, wouldn't that be wonderful if people could just tell the truth? Just be honest about shit. Just
truth button, yeah.
Oh,
boy, I don't know. A lot more wars could be fought over the truth, though. You think?
Oh God, yeah.
If humans could only tell the. Wasn't there a Bruce Almighty or something? Wasn't there a movie?
Liar.
Okay, liar. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, with Jim Carrey. We were just talking about that last week. Because I was I knew we were going to be doing this podcast, so I was like, it's the liar thing. You just got to tell the truth, and the truth will set you free. It really does.
Exactly.
But the problem is, just like there's no money in the cure, there's no money in the truth. That is the reality. Because in the truth, if just as an example, and we're going to get in, I don't want to get into this full fledged, but just that gamer kid that released all of that information on the Ukrainian war to all his gaming buddies, who's now arrested.
Oh, right, yeah.
And sitting in
that was crazy. They went to his Connecticut home and locked him up.
They put him in a military bus and carted him away. But what I was going to say about that, what we know today is for every one Russian soldier that's died, 7 Ukrainian soldiers have died.
Right.
We've been lied to about that. You could get into that whole thing. That would be, what bugs me. You and I have spoken about
podcast,
this.
Buddy.
I know that's why I'm not getting into it. But the other thing that is, where is Julian Assange? That is
a good question.
We know he's in London somewhere. I don't know. Mike Pompeo is.
I thought he was in Russia, hiding in Russia.
No, that's Edward Snowden.
Oh, you're right.
WikiLeaks is the one I'm talking about.
You're right.
Julian Assange is in London, and our wonderful CIA had made 2 assassination attempts on him during the reign of Mike Pompeo, and he's under some type of European request to come, whatever a subpoena would be under those court systems, to come and talk to them about what they know about those attempts on his life. Julian Assange, to me, is one of the biggest travesties in the world right now. Snowden, too, because all they did was tell the truth about our government.
Right.
And they both have to fear for their lives. And Snowden is in Russia somewhere in a bunker. And then Julian Assange is still locked up. How many years later? What happened to due process? They're trying to extradite him to the U.S. That's a podcast we're going to do, is on the whole. We have to do that, because we had done a little short one on it a couple of years ago, and that got more reviews than anyone we've ever done. But
wow,
yeah, but it all goes back to fear. You know, we put a lot of that. We love the fear porn. We really do, and our politicians and corporations know how to use it. But the problem is, you can use it for so long, people become wise to it. And I think more and more of the population, not all of it. I mean, I still see people wearing masks in cars. I can't even believe it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I don't know what's going on out there in the Midwest.
Some people like the decision made for them.
Right. You got that whole thing going on. So, yep.
The Midwest, it's the Wild West out here. There's, you
guys got pistols and guns.
Open carry out here, so it's the Wild West. There's
right.
No car inspections. You might see a zombie apocalypse car go by. You might see, some rednecks in a pickup truck with a shotgun.
That's like where my factory is, Jude.
You might see the person sitting in the car all alone with a face mask on. You get it all out here.
Oh yeah. Well, I think every time I walk into Trader Joe's, about half of them are wearing masks, and I just sit there.
Yeah, I would say Trader Joe's.
What is going on there? The other thing we have to talk about.
Walmart. There's no fucking mask in Walmart.
Oh no, they don't care, right? That whole that's a population that marches to a beat of a different drum right out there. The one in Clifton Park here in New York is like, oh my God, you can go there and be entertained for hours. You never go back on the internet.
My favorite Walmart, I think, that I've ever been to was Miami, and I'm there at 2 or 3 in the morning.
Perfect.
I don't want
to
answer. Yeah, I don't want to tell you why I was there at 2 or 3 in the morning.
I probably don't want to know.
But there were literally people. There was a swimming pool with the one that you used to put when the kids were little on the yard and fill up with a garden hose.
Oh yeah.
There was like a plastic swimming pool, and the people were grilling out front at 2 or 3 in the morning.
Get out of here.
Yeah, lawn chairs with the feet in the pool, cooking hot dogs.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
Did you have
it was like you had been to the Grateful Dead shows back in the day. Yes. It was like the parking lot scene of the Grateful Dead.
Or Fish. I've been to a Fish concert where they're grilling toasted cheese sandwiches, right? The same thing.
There was a whole subculture
That's a subculture.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched so many arrests at a Fish concert. I couldn't even, in that area, like they call it the market area, where they're grilling toasted cheese sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And everybody.
Oh yeah. I mean, the Dead shows had a trip tent. So if people were bugging out, they could go to this space where everybody else was bugging out with you.
And they bring you down.
They had merchandise tent where you could go buy shit. They had fortune telling stuff. They had, you name it.
I have not. The Fish concert I went to was about maybe 18 years ago. It was up at Saratoga Springs at the SPAC, up at SPAC, and they had come. They hadn't been there in a while, but that was a cultural. I mean, there were people who were like 40 years old that had kids that left them with their parents and were traveling with Fish for the duration of the summer. It was so strange. I'm like, what?
They're a wild subspecies.
Subspecies.
I'm probably going to get shit for that.
Oh, my God. You can count on it.
I didn't mean sub.
Whatever you meant.
Maybe they deviate off the standard norm or something? I don't know how you say it.
Yeah, you're fucking canceled. You can forget about it.
I can't, wherever I step, I'm going to step on a landmine of manure.
Yeah, you can't avoid it. Not today. You can't. You just can't. But I'm good with it. I mean, let it rock. Let it rock. But anyway, I think we're going to wrap it up, and we'll definitely. We got to talk to Tara Rule though. Her life is just so interesting at this point.
Well, we could get her on. I think she is in a relationship with an AI guy.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe he's AI. I don't know.
Well,
he's also got the ties in with the Illuminati experience. Oh, yeah, maybe we should.
She covers a lot of content, Tara.
Throw in some Bigfoot and UFOs and it's good to go.
We've done that one. We've done that with her where she saw both in the same day, right?
That was a great episode. That was one of my personal favorites.
Yeah, it was. You just let her go. You just listen to her and the whole GE.
Wind it up and let it go.
Yeah, the whole GE thing. She's just been exposed to a lot of stuff. But with that said, I think we'll be back next week. We have some interesting things to talk about, and I'm gonna go have a hot dog.
That sounds great, buddy. This was another brilliant episode, and you always get me thinking and laughing. And
yeah, well,
I appreciate doing these things. Appreciate being back.
Yeah, too. We're gonna do them religiously, and we are definitely in the toilet bowl of life. So there's plenty. It's so great that we've got these sociopaths running things because we have so much content. We could go on and on and on forever.
That is true. We'll never run out of fodder to talk about.
You bet. All right. We'll see you next week. Peace.
All right. Bon voyage.
Yeah.